this first 15 minutes because it's just the analysis for the trades that were the signals that was sent out. And like I mentioned last week, it'll be emailed to you. I know we didn't have any signals the past few days because we really didn't have any setups. We had non-farm payroll. So let's go through each one. Now keep in mind, there may be a turnaround Tuesday on some of these trades, but the directional bias is intact. They're based on the daily and the 4-hour chart. So I'll start with the Canadian Swiss, and let's look on the daily chart. And clearly we're in an uptrend. It broke a swing high. That's what I was waiting for. And the 21 moving average line is starting to slant up on a daily chart. On the 4-hour chart, the same thing. Price is above the 21 moving average line, and it has broken a swing point, so we're continuing to go north. And then on the 1-hour chart, it's the same thing. So we have 3 time frames, 3 21 moving average lines that are slanted up, and price is above. So we're clearly in an uptrend. Now, the only thing is that we have to be looking for strong resistance levels up at this 93.85. So when I look to take a trade and I see a resistance level, I mean, this is like, I think about 70 pips away, then I'm confident that it will reach that resistance level only because we have strong directional bias on 3 time frames. Let me see if I can give you an example of that. There was another pair I wanted to show you that. But this is the Canadian Swiss, and we'll continue to stay north. Now, we do get a little bit of pullback, maybe a turnaround Tuesday. That's okay. It shouldn't last that long. It should continue to go north. We don't really have any good trade setups for turnaround Tuesday. We may have crosses, and we'll look at those. But for right now, these are the trades that I recommend for the next 12 hours. The next one is the USD Swiss. Again, the daily chart, market finally broke the 21 moving average line, and we're in an uptrend. 4-hour chart, same thing, price is above the 21 moving average line. And on the 1-hour chart, we may have a bit of a pullback. This is Monday. We may have a pullback on Tuesday. If we do, then here's the swing low, here's the swing high. And these are levels of support. These are places where we should find support on USD Swiss and start looking to buy. But right now we're long on this pair, and this level of resistance 93.96 is a concern, and price did bounce off that level. So either we find a support level to buy. If you don't buy now, buy it down here, or wait for a clear break of that 93.95. Okay, those are 2 scenarios. All right. The other trade is Euro Canadian dollar. Now, on a weekly chart, it's getting very close to this trend line, which is right around 131, which is also it's about 100 pips away. Okay, on a daily chart, we're still in a downtrend. Price is below the moving average line, and I'm going to show you we're going to be going over the trades like this. We're going to be actually taking trades off the daily chart really soon. We're not just going to be scalping, but I'm going to show you a great trade setup off the daily, which I sorely missed. I mean, here the market was going into downtrend, then found support, and then tried to break the resistance level, and turned out to be a false break. So you notice this candle broke above the resistance and closed. And then came back up 50% of this wick. And that would have been a great entry, a sell, because it was also a swing point at these levels. So that would have been a great daily a trade based on a daily chart, we would have stayed in there for about 200 pips. So we're definitely going to be getting into, especially now that we're going to have Ashish, who is helping with fundamentals. He's going to be joining us in the trade room, and he will be doing fundamentals, and I will be doing the technicals, and we'll be able to find setups on larger time frames, so we can stay in trades and not have to scalp all the time and focus so much and stare at the screen for hours at a time. We could take, and let me give you an example, because he actually sent me this setup back in February. And this is why I brought up this chart. I wanted to tell you about this. He had looked at the technicals and saw that the Canadian dollar was going to appreciate substantially over the euro based on some fundamentals. And he saw, and then I went to the chart and I said, wow, we have a false break on the daily chart. So we both took this trade around these levels here. And look at this run. We actually stayed, I chickened out. He stayed in for like 3 months. And I think I stayed in for 2 weeks. And I made about 300 pips. And he had stayed in all the way down to the bottom. It was amazing. So he's unique. He's very good at seeing these long trend setups based on daily and weekly charts. Okay, so I'm excited about that. But this trade setup was so clear on the daily chart. Look at this. We have an inside bar. This is very classic. Inside bar. And at a resistance level, we had a clear false break that also was a kangaroo tail. And when we see this, the entry is in the next candle. Now, when you trade technically, what do we normally do? We stay in for a day, maybe 2, and take the trade and get out. Okay, we'd never think about staying in for weeks or months at a time on a trade like that. That's not short-term technical traders do. Okay, but if you have a strong fundamentals that supports what you see, then yes, then it's a lot easier. It makes sense that this setup was reflected in the fundamentals, and we were able to take that trade. Okay, so I look forward to it. It's going to be exciting because we're going to be able to have more. It's not going to be one direct, one type of trading that we do now. We're going to have a lot. Okay, but yes, there was also one day where there was no movement. But the thing is that it didn't really matter. What mattered is that the fundamentals and what he saw and what he sent me was that the Euro Canadian was not going to go up any higher, that this was the end. And I clearly saw that in the technicals, but I would have probably taken this run for about 200 pips until it found support, not knowing that even with a retracement that the market was just going to turn around and head south again, that it was never going to go up any higher than this. And that's the value of having someone that can understand world economies. And the world economies are all like a puzzle. They all fit together and they all affect each other in ways, it's unfathomable to me. It's in ways that we don't really understand. And a lot of it has to do with oil. And so let's go, sorry for getting off track a bit. Let's go to the Australian dollar. Australian dollar also is a sell. Again, we look at the 4-hour chart, the daily chart. Price is below. It is hitting a strong support level. And because the market flow is down on so many time frames, let's look on the daily chart, also on the weekly chart, then it shouldn't have any problem breaking these swing points, these swing lows. When you have the weekly, the daily, the 4-hour, and now the 1-hour chart all pointing down. Okay. And then the last one is Aussie Canadian dollar. Again, let's go all the way to the weekly chart. The weekly chart has broken, a trend line has been broken on the weekly chart. Okay, that's significant. But even with that, it's hitting prior resistance levels. Now, again, market flow is down on the weekly. It's down on the daily chart. It's down on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so it wouldn't be too difficult to break previous support levels when you have so many time frames that are, you know, lining up. Okay, so we may have a reaction to these levels here, but that's just another reason. I mean, we have a 1, 2, 3 pattern here, unless price breaks below these levels. Okay. So anyway, that is it for these trade setups. Now we do have rate announcement coming out at 9:30. So one of the reasons I started the session late is because we're not going to really be able to do anything till around 9:30 Eastern. So I wanted to go over the trade analysis first, and then we can take a break, come back before the 9:30 announcement, and take a trade. Okay. So does anyone have any questions on these trades and any of these signals that we were talking about for the past 10 minutes? I will come back at around 9:15 and we'll just trade the 9:30 trade balance, actually. I'm sorry. And there is trade balance is at 9:30, and I'm not sure what numbers. I'm going to have to just crunch some numbers and see what deviation we would need. But even if we didn't know the deviation, it's just a strong negative or positive numbers would definitely. I hope it's negative because then it supports the trend. Not so good for Australian dollar, but at least it supports the trend and it'll be a lot easier trade to take. Okay. Robert, you asked me that I sent a bias on Canadian Swiss. I'm not sure what your question is. I mean, this is directional bias on Canadian Swiss is positive. We have the daily, the weekly. I think the 4 hour, the weekly, the 4 hour, the daily chart, 1 hour, all in an uptrend. So it should go up at least 60 pips. I'm looking at the next resistance level. So on a weekly chart, there is these levels up here. These are the levels of resistance. So I'm looking for the market to go up 60 pips, and that's it. I'm getting out because it's getting very close. Yeah, there's a weekly pivot. There's also at 93.85, it's about 60 pips away. There's a resistance level, so I would be getting out of that trade. Okay. So I'll come back around 9:20. We'll trade the trade balance. Maybe there's a trade to take, and I'll see you guys in about an hour.